Welcome to the Sacred Designer Podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Martin, kitchen and bath designer, entrepreneur, artist, and creative soul behind the Kitchen and Bath Digest. This is a show where we weave soulful design into every space and redefine what it means to create with intention. Here we don't just create beautiful homes, we design from the heart, embracing both the practical and spiritual. By pressing play, you'll be joining a community that creates not just for function, but for a sense of sacred space and personal alignment. On this podcast, you will learn to merge the art of design with soulful living, turning every remodeling project into a journey of self-expression and holistic beauty. This isn't just about kitchens and bathrooms, it's about embracing design as a path to a richer, more beautiful life. So let's step into this sacred designer together and create spaces that resonate with your soul. Welcome to the Sacred Designer Podcast. If you're new here, we're going to talk about the intersection of home and soul and how the spaces we create live that are never just aesthetic or functional, but they're about energy, intention, and transformation. I sit down with designers, organizers, healers, and space holders who understand our homes are mirrors. And when we shift our spaces, we shift our lives, whether you're remodeling your kitchen, or you're organizing your home, rearranging a closet, you're in the right place to believe that it's deeper than it actually looks. So today's conversation is about design that actually holds your life, not just visually, but practically, emotionally, and energetically. I'm joined by Christie, whose work reflects the deep holistic approach to design, one that considers how spaces function together, how designs ripple across the home, and how thoughtful planning creates a sense of ease long after the installation day. What I appreciate so much about Christie's perspective is that it aligns with something I talk about often in Kitchen and Bath Digest, that design isn't just about beautiful finishes. It's about how we live inside our homes, our habits, our stress levels, our daily routines and rituals, and the way that our space either supports or complicates them. This conversation isn't about trends or aesthetics alone. It's about cohesion, longevity, and creating spaces that quietly make life feel better. So, Christie, I'm so glad you're here and welcome to the Sacred Designer.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, good. And thank you so much for making it early too. It's very helpful. So, I noticed that you approach design in a holistic manner rather than just like room by room. What led you to see homes as systems rather than collections of decisions?
Yeah, I think when, designers, we have to think very collectively about the space and who's living in it. I mean, you might be hired to do a master bedroom or just one room in the house, but the reality of it is you can't design that one room and have it not fit into the rest of the house. So we do have to walk into a home and see the entire collection, whether they have warm woods or gray woods or, cool tones or warm tones, or even with the finishes of the rest of the home. We have to blend that with the new room that we're designing. If it is just that we're hired for. So that is kind of the holistic view. And then also, how do we want that room to function? And, how do we want that room to function for the customer? And how do we want that room to feel? And all of it needs to feel right for obviously the design feeling and concept, but it has to be right for the customer and also has to fit in with the rest of their house.
I really appreciate that statement because I just actually had a client the other day and she wanted these really ultra blonde floors, right? And then you kind of like continue walking down the hallway and you're like, oh, like you have stair railings that are like this orangey oak. I was like, is it in the budget to paint those or replace them? And she's like, no. I'm like, oh, well, we're gonna have to consider something else then. But you're
Yes.
totally right because I mean, and sometimes budget comes down to it, but
Yep.
you need to be realistic and, think about it cohesively because otherwise it totally throws you off. But,
Yep.
and that comes down to the fact that like people should not make choices in isolation, right? And really, quite honestly, this is why, where we come into play, like as a designer, but, what happens to people when they do make choices in isolation and what does that impact the home and the overall functions? What have you seen? Is there any examples that you could point out?
Well, I mean, maybe if the client has to make those choices themselves and not rely on somebody that does this for a living and is trained and paid to do what they do, they're ultimately gonna make costly mistakes. And I've heard from a lot of clients that call me and they're like, I hate these cabinets. I just put them in. They don't match anything else in my home. And I wasn't working with them at the time, but it's like, who the heck were you working with that just designed your kitchen that didn't look at the rest of, your home around? So ultimately, yes, you hear that a lot from clients. I don't want to make the wrong decision, or if they're isolated in making their decision and having no support, ultimately they're just drowning in a sea of decisions and they don't know how to piece it all together and make it look collective and curated and thoughtfully designed. So, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
very messy and not thought through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just, I think sometimes we have to pause and so quickly you get overwhelmed and people kind of are in a rush. And sometimes the vendors are in a rush too. And I
Yeah.
think that's probably what happened with your client where they just were like, sale, 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 and you just have to like, pause and make sure that you're making the right partner decisions too. And it sounds like how you're making the client understand the value of planning is based on not making those costly mistakes and making all the selections and finishes and furnishings before you move forward. Is there any other thing that you find you point out to the client that is a value of taking that planning process?
My process is very streamlined and focused on leading the customer from point A to point B very, very smoothly. They have to make decisions in that process, but we make those decisions together. And I also help guide them based on their Pinterest profile or their house profile, or if they give me an inspiration picture, I definitely work with that and I provide the sourcing products that basically fit their overall look that they're going for. And then I say, this will be a great choice. This is a great choice. This is an even better choice. And tell me what you feel about this. Oh, I love this. Okay. This is what I think would look the best that is still within your price range. And then we're bringing in texture, we're bringing in this, we're bringing in that. And they tend to just trust me in that process. Like we might start here, but we kind of guide a little bit further in the process. If I kind of jump at them with like where I really think we're going to end up, they might not see it. But if I'm in a meeting with them, we start showing things, I lay things out, they get comfortable, and then we start guiding in a different direction and scope it a little bit tighter. And then they're like, oh, wow. Like I just had a meeting with a client and she was like in tears looking at the final selection. She just wanted to take it home. It
Oh,
was her
that's
bathroom.
so
And she was
lovely.
like, this is so gorgeous. This is exactly what I wanted. So it's part of just understanding what the client wants, seeing what they like, bringing in what they like, but bringing in, your designer touch on it and just really closing the deal with what will be the best thing for them that looks the best for what they're looking to achieve.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you really have a gift of just kind of seeing the vision and, understanding what the client needs. And, as we were discussing, before this call, it's something that you just kind of intuitively know what they need. You see what they have and you just kind of create the vision. And that's really what we're here for. We create the spreads and all the things. But, in kitchens and bathrooms, those are some of the most used spaces.
Oh
Would you say
yeah.
that's the most common or do you do kind of like a combination of all the spaces or?
I do a lot of furnishing. So I do, bedrooms and living rooms, dining rooms, but I really am getting into kitchens and bathrooms and a little bit of like new build and just kind of reconstruction. And I
Yeah.
really like that piece because you can ultimately like shift the way that a room is currently feeling. You walk into a bathroom, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have no storage. We can change that like so quickly
Mhm.
and shift slight little things of the layout to really achieve what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And the space just really becomes their own. So I think kitchens and bathrooms are the heart. I mean, kitchens are always the heart of the home, and that is a space that you really want to be like your showstopper and like best,
Money shot entry.
yeah, your money shot, you want that range, you want that sink to be like the most beautiful, focal point. And then, yes, the master primary bathrooms, I tended to really sit in the kitchen and bath lane a lot, and I like that. And working with a contractor that kind of executes that really effortlessly, and we tend to be a really good team. But I think, yes, designing and decorating is definitely in my bag of tricks as well. That is super fun. And being a designer, we do work with what they currently have too. So if they have a table that is very sentimental and from the family, I mean, we have to work that into the design, whether it's we keep it
Mhm.
that same finish or we might finish it a different color, but we definitely keep things that are important to clients in our designs.
Yeah, because I think those pieces are kind of really holding a memory and a frequency of, what it means, what family means to them.
Yeah.
Kitchens are represent abundance and bathrooms are really like renewal. And,
Yeah.
and those pieces, I really think it does support, daily well-being. Have you
Yeah.
kind of noticed that pattern that the spaces you're in, whether it's, bedrooms or kitchens and baths, that it does support the well-being? Or, is there anything else that you've noticed about spaces?
I think renewal is actually a really nice word, like we like to say quiet luxury or just like serene or spa-like, when I think of when personally, when I feel like when I'm designing a bathroom or a master or primary suite, I mean, honestly, those are spaces that I love moody. I love moody all the way, and I'll totally do that. But really quiet luxury is a place where you want to go to sleep and you want to, rest your head, and just same with your bathroom. You want it to be something that is awakens you in the morning and revives you, and it's just a very like, oh my gosh, this is my dwelling place, and when
Yeah.
as it relates to that in your ensuite, in my personal thought process, unless the client has, they want it to be super eclectic. I think of eclectic can be in other areas or maybe some of the decor, but your true finishes that you're choosing, I think quiet luxury is just the best place for a primary suite.
And how about function? Like, what does good function look like beyond, just code compliance and layout efficiency and that gushy luxury that you're talking about? How does that play a role into some of the designs that you have?
Do you mean like in a bathroom or in
Really, any space, like anything that kind of jumps to you, like good function. Like, do you feel like
oh
where does it really kind of jump out at you the most often?
Well, I mean, yeah, beyond code and making sure you have proper, walking distance and all that, that is something that we have to be very cognizant of. But, let's take like a primary, bedroom, for example. You know, Having good feng shui in a bedroom is, and that's a feeling thing. And the
Yeah.
client might not realize that that's what you're doing, but you're creating a balance. And your bed needs to be, a certain height. And I just did a article with Real Simple and Martha Stewart just on like bed layout and design that like
Yeah.
it sounds something that is so simple, and it is, but there's actually a science behind it of having, how tall your ceilings, your back headboard should be a certain height, the height of your bed, and how high your mattress is should be a certain, how tall is the client, where does that line up to the end table? I mean, those are all functionality things that it's not just look that you're going for. You're really kind of tying in the functionality of that space for that client. I've had clients that are 6'7". I've had clients that are 5 foot, or 5'5" for the husband and wife. And, that bed selection and the choice that you're putting in that room is going to be different for both of those clients. And the function needs to be very well thought through. So that is like a function of how that room feels to them, right? And how it feels in their bodies, but also the function of the flow of the space, the feng shui. Is the energy feeling correct? Correct. Is this in the wrong place? It has to be really thought out on a lot of levels. And that's what we need to think about as designers that the client pays us for.
That's so funny that you say, you mentioned feng shui and that the client doesn't know we're doing it. And it's like a common denominator. I feel like all designers say it. And I don't know if it's the lack of acceptance or if it's like TMI, right? That's what
Yes.
we're hired for. It's just, there's so many factors that we are processing that
Yeah.
we're just kind of like, you know what? Like, here's the example. Like, just let me process it. Here's the example. But I think those are the things that are behind the scenes that I
Right.
think new designers aren't necessarily realizing at first, and that clients never really realize unless they have like expressed an interest. So I think
Yeah.
it's so funny. I think you nailed it on the head when you said that.
And
But how
Alyssa,
do you,
also adding to that real quick
uh-huh.
about styling piece, you know what I mean? You know how
Yeah.
we know how to like, we know the formula of what to add into the space and I might be like, you might not love this, but this is tying in this, and you have to educate them on that. Like this I'm placing here for this reason to bring in
Yeah.
this other aspect of the room that you love. So yeah, it's just
That's very
adding on.
true. Yeah, there's elements that you have to kind of give an expression or an explanation of why you did that.
Exactly. Yeah.
For sure. Um, but yeah, when it comes to like balancing that, the quiet luxury and the realities of how people should actually live, do you ever find that that style or any kind of beauty kind of competes with the way people actually live? Or do you just straight up just accommodate that person's lifestyle? Or how do you deal with that? Like, sometimes there's mess or stress or just time constraints or maybe all of them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, oftentimes, if you're not starting with a blank canvas, you're starting with the client's things in the home that might be cluttered, right? So, I mean, oftentimes for a designer to really have it be the true showcase piece is if you're moving into a new house and somebody is hiring you to design the entire home, and then you procure the entire home. That is where it's soup to nuts, and it's the easiest to make it the end result of what we're looking to achieve. The challenge can be, oh, I have a blanket that looks similar to this that I'll just throw on the back of the chair. And it's like, okay, that's not a similar blanket, but it's similar to them. So I think it comes
Yeah.
down to like budget and just what they're willing to like kind of part with too. I don't always procure for my clients either. So if it's a full service project, I do procure, and that is where, they accept XYZ and we make it the end result. Usually I can get that to my full design. But if it is just a virtual client and I'm sending shopping links and the concept and the whole rendering to them, they can choose not to buy things. So ultimately, that virtual client is not going to have the whole look of what I have designed. But it's something that they've taken education from and learned from the process. It is, I don't say a lower level package, but it's a lower level service package, but it gets them to the confidence of bringing in things that they've never thought of, whether it's texture or natural materials, or, I've educated them throughout the process. So their room might look eclectic, but it does definitely look put together.
Yeah, I definitely have, just run parallels with people not only not being able to let go of their personal items that don't no longer fit. That's an energy block for sure. But it's, there's also a rite of entry too. Like I don't necessarily take every client. Sometimes they're not ready,
Yeah,
so there's that too. And so then I think, I call that like the toe dipping package, because they're just trying to get an idea of like, what you're about. And sometimes they're not ready for it. So
yeah,
that, and that's
yeah.
okay too. But you have to start somewhere. And I always say it's like one day at a time and you'll get there eventually. So
And not every client is gonna, be that. Yeah, the toe dipping package is probably the correct term for that. I've never called it that. That is very creative. But yeah, I would say that sometimes I mean, I would love to say that all my clients purchase every little last cent that I have on my list, but they if they're in charge of procurement, it comes on their own time, budget, and timeline, and they might not execute on every little last thing. There has been some things where I say, I don't see this fit in this room, I love it, but can you put it in another room? Or I see this, piece more in your living room versus your bedroom, and they're fine with that. I haven't really told a client that they can't have something in a space if they love
Yeah.
it. It's something that we do work with if it's a very true piece that, or I will say you have to stain it, you know,
Yeah. You can
you
lead
have
a
to
horse
stain,
to
you have
water,
to
right?
paint it, you have to do something with it, but like this needs to go, or this needs to change. I'm not like throw it away, but can you paint it?
Yeah. Strong suggestions, kind of like that railing. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
okay. Well, it seems like you're known for creating cohesive spaces. Would you agree with that?
yeah.
And why does cohesion matter so much in how the home feels?
I think like, as I mentioned before, it's like when you walk into a home, I mean, we all feel it. Like maybe it's just because we're in the industry and like you walk into homes and it's just like, oh wow, this home feels good,
Yeah.
like the home has a good flow to it. I don't care the style, but the home flows and it feels right. There's homes you walk into and it might not flow. It's a hodgepodge. And those are very tough clients to work with because there's a lot of, it's like basically like you need to clean out everything. You need to have Goodwill come over and you need to get rid of everything. Like I can't help you yet. And there has been those clients where I'm like, it's gonna be a waste of your money to work
Does
with you.
Goodwill do house calls? I was going to say, I think the
I
biggest
know that
problem is
like
that you have to bring it to
AMVETS
them,
does. I know, go to
right?
Goodwill, or I know AMVETS does, and
Oh,
because I
okay.
personally had them come and pick up some stuff, and I just was like, I just can't help you until you're ready, so
Yeah.
I can help you with paint or something. But we really need to get rid of some of this stuff before I can even start because it's just too cluttered. But those are like your pack rat type clients, but
Hmm.
that's very rare. Let's be honest.
No,
But
I think maybe just not the people you're working with, but I think it is an epidemic for sure. Like that's the best way I can put it. Being a kitchen bath designer, just kind of going into bidding multiple homes, I would say at least 2 out of 10 have some sort of problem. But
yeah, fair.
that was kind of my
Okay.
next question though, was like, if you did notice that there was like an emotional shift based on the home flow, and it sounds like you're saying, yeah, like there is like a feeling that you kind of get when the home does flow. Was that kind of what you were saying? Like an
Yeah,
emotional
yeah.
feeling?
I think for me, there's an emotional feeling. There's an emotional feeling when I walk in, and there's
Yeah.
an emotional feeling when you've curated and the home is even just slightly shifted.
Yeah.
Most clients can feel it.
Yeah.
Most clients can say, you know what, I'm so happy that I had you because I couldn't have achieved this on my own. Um, mostly, yes, I can feel that. So that emotional shift is, yes, I do feel that. They don't always understand it, but they might feel it sometimes.
Do you think people underestimate how much, mental energy or like how a poorly designed space does
Yes.
consume of their energy?
Oh, that, I don't think they really understand it. No, I think this is a whole topic. I mean, that I could probably sell my business based off of this topic of getting clients. Honestly, I don't think that they do. And it's something that we bring to the equation softly because you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, your house is so cluttered. Like, but yeah, I think you could easily sell a business and get business based off of that 100%. Yeah.
So, just kind of taking a turn. So, trends move really quickly, but homes kind of stay with us for decades, right? So, how do you help the clients design beyond the moment they're in?
Oh, accessibility and like aging in place is huge right now, especially for bathrooms. And you could be working with an older client, and I think you're not designing for them now, but you will be designing for them in the future if this is their remodel. And I think that is something that is a very tender topic, but it's where designers have to think honestly
Yeah.
about moving the client through that very gingerly and softly is this shower doesn't award you a bench, but I think if we get rid of this tub that is, we can do a freestanding tub, and then I can extend your shower out a little bit, not changing any plumbing, but that's gonna award you a bench that, and they're like, well, what's the purpose of a bench? Well, it's two things, a couple things, actually. It's a nice aesthetic thing that we could design and make it look unique in the shower that will elevate it. But number two, when you grow old in this home, which is what you're telling me that you want to do, which most people are at this stage, right? The aging in place is huge. Accessibility is a universal design, I think is what we're calling it now, that we do have to coach and educate on, is that, you're not thinking about it now, but eventually you will need a bench to sit down on. You will eventually need a grab bar, and a grab bar doesn't have to look industrial, but we might not need to put it in now, but we're going to make the backing in your shower prepared for it in X amount of height to be prepared to put a grab bar in at a future time. And those are things that as designers, we have to really coach about the future of what that space can kind of evolve into.
Yeah.
The plumbing for your shower, does it have a handheld? That's something that an elderly person needs in their shower. It
Yeah.
might not be something that they're looking for now, but you can change out that plumbing in the future to add that bar. Now you have your seat, and then you will put that grab bar in the future, and your shower is going to be already set up versus retiling and, all the things and rechanging your whole shower. So that is something I'm currently in discussions with a current client, and it was just something that I think it's a new concept in design that we're thinking about, but it's a very tender, soft topic because nobody wants to talk about getting old. No one wants to talk about planning for that, but that is definitely an example of how I think futuristically for
And
design.
side note, aren't the grab bars getting so cute? Like they
They
used to be
are.
so ugly and now they're just like really
Remember the
pretty.
plastic ones that I think I saw in like my grandparents' house, and they were
Yeah,
just
the
like
plastic like
on the wall.
fluted rod that was square with the ceramic edges. Yeah. Oh yeah.
They've gotten so yeah, they used to feel very clinical, like you're in a
Yeah.
hospital or something. And no, they're not like that. And they're coming out so much better. So I don't know, that's maybe the example that I would come up with right off the top of my head.
But also not only that, but then like the placement of the bar. So like I'll strategically put it at like an angle in front of the bench because then you figure you're probably gonna have to sit down, you're gonna have to pull yourself up. And then if you're gonna be standing there, because then sometimes people have vertigo. So like there's a lot of things.
A
Like,
lot
and
of
I
things.
always think in increments of 5, 10, and 15. Like, okay, are you going to think you're going to be moving in 5? Well, if you think and you're hesitating the answer of 5, then you're probably going to be here for 10, So you have those are certain
Oh, I
things that
like
you
that
have to,
thought process.
it is for sure, because the people
That's
don't
really,
realize. And then they're kind of
yeah,
designing to sell. And then they realize, oh my gosh, like I'm not ready to sell. And so then, I just try to like walk them through that thought process for sure.
yeah, yeah, I
But
love that. That's a good, I'm gonna take that.
yeah, it's in my questionnaire. I'm like, are you planning on being here? Like, are you trying to leave in the next 5 years? I'm like, okay, how
Yeah.
realistic is that?
Questionnaire is a great place for that. I might have to edit that. I'm taking notes on that. Love it.
Okay. And so like, yeah, and so timeless materials and just thoughtful layouts kind of with the where the placement of the bars are it really contributes to sustainability and just longevity really
But
of.
timeless is very oh gosh, that's a whole podcast. You could go off on timeless because some clients are like, I love color, and I'm like, I love color too, but is it timeless? And she's like, I love the color red. I'm
Or is
like,
it
well,
practical? Because
or is it
that's another word. Yeah.
practical, timeless? Oh my gosh, all of them. So that could be, gosh, I mean, it's like I love red, don't get me wrong, but would I put like red tile in your shower? Like maybe not, unless it's like a
I've seen some
powder.
really beautiful like maroon
Oh,
Zalige wall
yeah.
tile. That's moody. That would be your vibe, right?
That is moody. That is moody. Anyway, you might not want to put the red in there, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's
Yeah.
not a timeless like choice,
So
I guess.
really like our goal in Kitchen Bath Digest is just to help homeowners avoid regret. I think quite honestly
Yeah.
that's kind of the goal of every designer. So, what choices tend to age well and which ones just don't, or are going to also gracefully, age with the person. So like, how do you see your role as a designer, a guide, a translator, an advocate, a curator? Is there any other things that you feel like, you tend to take the lead on that you want to kind of point out?
I think what I'm getting a little bit stronger in is my process from designing is really streamlined. I have that really tight. I can lead the customer from estimating, onboarding, getting the concept, going through the materials selection, getting them to make decisions, showing them the rendering, and then executing on the plan is where I feel like that is where we're still kind of working. There's room for improvement on once you hand over that design either to the client or if you hand it over to the contractor. What I really find is there's room for improvement on that for me in my own personal estimating process. I think we underestimate as designers really truly how much time we're talking to the tile person, whether we're there in person or not, the plumber, the hardware, who's installing the hardware, who's the fabricator, and really estimating that and putting in those hours from not just handing off the design, but actually like truly, truly being a part of that execution. Because I'm also like my virtual clients, I feel like I have to do that versus just handing it off. And that's where I feel like I'm improving on and just trying to bill for if the client is willing to do that. I mean, locally, a lot of contractors use Builder Trend, and I think Builder Trend is super efficient on communicating with everybody. So I feel like there's just less things that can go wrong. But I think to your question, that's where I feel like there's definitely some room for improvement in the industry in general on just making sure that everything is really executed properly.
Yeah, I mean, because really, at the end of the day, our responsibility is just to kind of help the client slow down and make the
Yeah.
right decisions and communicate properly. So, I
Yeah.
mean, let's be honest, that's probably the weakest point for everyone
Okay, that
is
makes me feel better because
it
I
is,
literally
it is. It's in between the completion of the materials
what
and the
we
layout and the
do. Right.
plan to
Yeah.
implementation. That is the
Yeah.
hardest part. And,
Yeah.
it does come down to communication and trust. And really, if you trust your contractor, it should not be a problem.
Correct.
But the
Correct.
reality is that it tends to be. So,
Well,
yeah.
unless you work with the same contractor every time, right? And that's where the
Hmm.
trust comes in. And if you're solely working with one contractor, I think you can really like perfect
Yeah,
your
I agree.
process. And because I work with a handful, everyone's different in how they manage.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes me feel better to know that that is and I feel like that is something that is a little bit of like your anxiety's high during that point, and it's not a
Yeah.
control thing. It's just it's just making sure that it's executed properly. You want the client to get what they've achieved and what we've discussed. And yes, it is more hours and it comes across as more expensive, but the reality of it is you aren't paying me my hourly or my time to really make sure that I'm talking to these people. Because I'm not the
Hmm.
one that's physically laying the tile and
Right.
doing it. I'm not always there either,
Hmm.
on site. So I feel like by me versus just handing over an email and praying to God that it's going to be executed properly, that you're paying me to talk to those people. You can be on that call as well, and to make sure that they understand the layout for the tile. They understand the fabricator of, what countertop width we're going with and the edge design and what have you.
Yeah, and that's why like, the implementation packet is so important. So the set of documents really makes a huge difference too. And the more detail you can put in there, the less, issues you have, but that's not a fail,
I don't think it is
proof
a fail-proof
process.
process, is what
No,
I
it's
found.
not.
And I have that. I have that. And I'm always trying to perfect that even more, but not everybody reads it,
Yeah,
And
which is
what's
crazy to me.
right? It's easy for us to read and understand. Like I can be so blatant on my, my work that I'm sending over, and it's very clear, but yet they're still calling me on every
Yeah. I
thing.
mean, don't
And
get me
it's like,
wrong, layout has to happen. Like, doesn't mean don't have one. Like, you have to have the layout. That's like where they start. But time and time again, you find that there's like 10 ways to skin a cat, right?
right.
So that's where, the
And not everybody has
interpretation.
the same brain. I'm finding this out with my husband. Like we're building a house right now in California,
Congrats.
and I'm the designer, and I can definitely do like mood board rendering, and his brain works on like spreadsheets and this, and it's like our brains are just like not, we're not on the same, like he interprets the information way different than I do. And I could put it so clearly to him, but it's not the way he hears it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
I
hard.
hear you. I'm the same way with my husband. But so I would love to do a fire round where I just kind of give you
Okay.
some questions and then you just answer as best you can, as quickly as you can. And you can say pass if you want, but this one's just kind of
Okay,
fun. All right.
good.
Okay, one design element people overlook that impacts daily life the most.
Oh boy. Function,
Okay. A feature that feels luxurious but is actually functional.
texture,
Okay. I think of teddy bear fabric when you say that. I don't know why. Something you believe every kitchen should support emotionally.
accent lighting.
Oh, yeah. A common regret you see after remodels.
Say that question again.
A common regret you see after remodels.
Oh, that I see. Um, oh boy. I don't know. I don't know that an answer to that
Okay.
question.
Well, maybe you don't have them
Yeah,
because
I
you're
don't.
involved with them?
Yeah, I think it is just okay. So common regret is honestly you have to be super on the finish in the rough in from the plumbing from the start. So you need to know what kind of the execution of your tile and what the like color scheme is going to
Oh,
be
like tile
from
placement. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
the rough in placement and like what the layout of that is going to be
Yeah,
and the color finish. You need to
got
know
it.
that with
Yeah.
that rough in because they're going to ask for the exact rough in.
The thing we struggle with the color, the finish in this area, because a lot of our people are on well water. So you
Mm,
can't do like the really dark matte blacks or oil rub bronze because the water mineral content just ruins it. So
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, side note. Anyways, okay, a design choice that instantly creates ease.
a design search that creates these, I think, neutral, very warm colors.
Yeah, that's like easy, right? Or
Yeah,
safe. I call it a safe color. A
yeah.
habit homeowners should consider before designing.
A higher designer,
Yep. One word that describes a well-designed home.
curated,
Okay. A design worth slowing down for every time. A decision worth slowing down for every time.
proper layout.
Yes, I agree. Something that never goes out of style.
Uh, never goes out of style. Timeless pieces.
Yeah. Like antiques, is that kind of what you mean by timeless or?
I'm thinking timeless, like a little vintage, timeless piece. Nothing too antique, but like vintage.
Okay. One intention you hope listeners to bring to their next design decision.
They need to have a really strong Pinterest profile or like they need to have some idea of what they like. And then we have to sit down and talk after that. So yes, that is very important when they come to me knowing somewhat what they like.
Okay, that's fair. So, Chrissy, thank you so much for this conversation. I love how your work reinforces the idea that good design isn't loud necessarily, but it's supportive, and it makes life easier, calmer, and more cohesive in ways people may not consciously notice, but deeply feel. And for everyone listening, I hope this episode has invited you to think a little bit more about your home, not as a series of upgrades, but as a system designed to support your daily life. And then, Christy, where can listeners connect with you to learn more about your work?
Yes, my website and everything that about my business is Crew Collective Design. So my website is www.crewcollectivedesign.com. I'm really active on social channels at Crew Collective Design on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. you name it. And I do have my cell phone as well listed and my email listed on those profiles. You can message me.
Thanks. Yeah.
So thank you. You can book a free call with me too on my website.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Sacred listeners, it's Alyssa Martin. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. But guess what? We're going to be at school. That's right, SKOOL. There we're going to have a free community where there's all the tools and checklists and things of that nature to help you get your remodel done in alignment. But guess what? We're also going to have the design lounge where you get one-on-one access to me. So go to school, check out the link in the show notes, and check it out. I'll see you guys next time on this Here's the Sacred Designer. Thank you.